has entered that wonderful phase in life where he has found something he's really interested in. And that happens to be trucks. We don't know how it happened. He doesn't really have any truck toys, except for a certain kind. But now whenever we go out on walks or in the car, he has to point out every truck he sees, whether it's a pickup truck or a delivery truck or a semi. And when we turn back onto Bonac Loop, he knows what that means, and he gets upset because it means we're going home, and he's not going to see any more trucks. I know. I don't know where he got this. From the dog. No, she hates trucks and cars and other dogs, and that list is quite long. The trucks that he does have at home, though, are almost all the same kind, and those are fire trucks. Because his grandfather is a retired firefighter, and has decided that unlike his two granddaughters, which have latched on to their Nana, my mother, this one is his. He's not going to have 3 grandchildren that all go to my mother and not to him. So he has tried especially hard to connect with Jordan. And we've encouraged that, and part of that is, all these fire trucks and firefighter stuff, which he loves. And he loves pushing around the fire trucks, and actually liked seeing them go by last 4th of July, which we weren't so certain was going to be the case. He was only a year old then. But he did. Growing up as the son of a firefighter, with other firefighters in the family, I heard all sorts of interesting stories that I, at the same time, can't wait for Jordan to hear and hope he never has to hear. Because some of them might give him ideas of mischief he can get into. But one of the things I remember most is my father telling me about when they'd get, a call and they'd have to go on a run. My father was the one who drove the truck. And if you didn't know this, at least in some places, fire trucks do have to follow the speed limit. And they were told that they were never to go above 35 miles an hour if they were on the side streets, not on the highways. My dad's never been one for rules. Since he was a little boy, and to this day, rules are just not his thing. And so he would frequently push the limit of how fast he could get that truck to go. And he would say that if they were on the road, and the call came in with more details, and especially if that detail was that there was a child in the building that was on fire, as far as he was concerned, there wasn't a speed limit. And in his words, he would make that truck fly. And it didn't matter whether he was on a 25-mile-an-hour road. He was going to get to that building as fast as possible. Running cars off the road if he had to. He peeled away chain link fences by accident, trying to get to the place so fast. But it didn't matter to him. What mattered to him was there was a child in distress, and it was their job to get there and make sure that nothing happened to that child. My father didn't have the most dangerous job on the fire department. He was the guy who went onto the roof to poke holes in the roof to try to get some air in so that they wouldn't have big blasts that blow through the building. But he had his fair share of going into the building itself and dragging people out. And it was scary as a kid. I know my mother always worried, we always worried, my cousins always worried about their family members who were on the department. But that's what they did. There was somebody in that building who needed them, who needed to be found, and who needed to be snatched out of the jaws of death. And that was their job. And nothing was going to stop them. I would like to suggest that when we think of the image of the shepherd and the good shepherd in the Bible, especially the way Jesus describes the shepherd, that we have maybe over-romanticized that image. We see lots of paintings and drawings and pictures of this beautiful-looking Jesus with the flowing blonde hair which Jesus did not have, cradling the lamb, and it looks all sweet and nice. And it is. It is a wonderful image to hold on to, this image of finally finding the little lamb and cradling the scared animal to our chest and taking it home. Because that is certainly an image of shepherding and what that means. But it's not all that shepherding means. Shepherding is dangerous. It was back in Jesus' time. It is today. It's not an easy job, and it involves some risk. Part of the job of the shepherd is to make sure that nothing happens to the sheep. That means guarding them, keeping them safe and all together, fighting off predators when they come for them, and when they are lost, doing whatever it takes, whatever is necessary, to go out, find them, rescue them from whatever trouble they're in, which could be very dangerous, and bring them back alive, safe, at home. It is not unlike driving a fire truck as fast as possible to get to a building because you know somebody there needs to be rescued. That sheep needs to be saved. It's counting on you. And a good shepherd does not stop, does not rest until every last sheep is accounted for, is safe, and is home. It is no coincidence that the kings of Israel and Judah were called shepherds. It's one of the more popular images for kings in ancient times, this idea that they were the guardians, that they were the ones responsible for the people under their care. That the reason a king went to war was to protect the sheep, was to protect the people of the nation. So at the same time that the king tried to manage the economy to make sure that people were taken care of if they were being a good shepherd, they also had the duty of being on the front line of defense, of protecting their sheep. It is also then no surprise that the kings of Israel and Judah are very often chastised for not being good shepherds, for not taking care of their sheep, for not providing for the well-being and the health and the safety of those underneath their care. We're human. Power gets to our heads. And it wasn't long before the shepherds of Israel and Judah, their kings, paid less and less attention to the well-being of the people in their care and more attention to their own comfort and their own pleasure and their own power. And when the shepherd neglects the sheep don't make it. It is a tireless job, a job that requires constant self-sacrifice. And if that isn't done, the sheep are lost. Whether they wander away, whether they get themselves into some kind of trouble, whether they're taken by predators and are snatched out of the shepherd's hand, it requires a lot of work. And the kings of Israel and Judah weren't up to that amount of work. When Jesus talks about being the good shepherd then, what he's doing is making a promise and making a commitment. That he will put in the work. That he has done his homework. That he is ready and on his way to make the ultimate self-sacrifice for the sheep. That it doesn't matter how lost each of us are, God's sheep. It doesn't matter what trouble we've managed to get ourselves into. And over the entirety of human history, we have found all sorts of interesting ways to get ourselves into trouble. But it doesn't matter how deeply into that trouble we've gotten ourselves. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, isn't going to let us go. Isn't going to let us be taken. isn't going to let us wander off, isn't going to act so selfishly that we aren't taken care of. This commitment from Jesus Christ to be the Good Shepherd is more than just having nice feelings for us and hugging us and comforting us, which Jesus does do. But it's a promise to us that our safety is in God's hands. It's a promise to us that there is a place for us in the fold. There is a place for us in the flock. And it is a place that cannot be taken by anyone else, cannot be given away, cannot be sold, cannot be bargained for, cannot be swapped. It is our place. And we are the only ones who belong in it. And if we are not there, if by some weird circumstance we have wandered off, if through no fault of our own we have been stolen, or we have been taken away, that nothing will prevent Jesus from coming out and finding us again. Not fire, not flood, not war, not insecurity, not fear, not paranoia, not illness, not even death. None of it at all will keep Jesus from coming to our rescue, from beating back the foes that have taken us from our place in the flock, and from bringing us home. I am not usually one for strong images when it comes to God, because I think we overdo them, and we need to see God in weakness as well. But this is one of those times. This is one of those times where I think it's important to understand that Jesus, as a good shepherd, is an image of strength. It's an image of power used for the good of others. It is an image of protection and an image of safety. And in this case, it is, yes, an image of love. Because I don't know about you, and I may regret saying this, but there are people I would run into a burning building for. But there are a lot of people I wouldn't run into a building for. Because I don't have that strength. I don't have that courage. People like firefighters run into buildings to rescue people they've never met. They don't even know, because they love that person that they've never met, whose name they couldn't ever tell you. But by the nature of their work, they love that person and will do anything they can to save them. How much more do you think God will fight for you and rescue you? You, whom God knows by name, before you knew your name, before your mothers knew your name. How much more do you think God is willing to sacrifice for you, whom God helped birth? How much more do you think God is ready to overcome for you, whom God knows more intimately than any human being on earth knows you? If we can shepherd sheep who recognize their shepherds but are still some of the densest animals we know, and if we can rescue people from danger that we have never met simply because it's our calling and our job, and if we can sacrifice a great deal of ourselves and our lives, and mothers know this sacrifice more than anyone else, if we can make those sacrifices for the people we love, what makes you think that God wouldn't be willing to sacrifice all that and even more? You are a sheep, and God is your shepherd. And that means that you are always safe, secure, taken care of, and rescued. Nothing will ever keep God